Mr. Chairman, the Trump administration's forced child separation policy will forever be a dark time in our nation's history. The policy undermines our country's moral standing in the world that generations of Americans have worked so hard and in some cases have given their lives to build. I am deeply concerned with documents that have been turned over by HHS that record a high number of sexual assaults on unaccompanied children in the custody of the Office of Refugee and Resettlement. Together, these documents detail an environment of systemic sexual assaults by staff on unaccompanied children. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a document request submitted by the committee to the HHS Secretary Azar on the development and execution of the administration's zero tolerance
Without
policy.
objection.
An untitled document that describes ORR's zero tolerance policy for all forms of sexual abuse.
Without objection.
Charts for each fiscal year from FY 2015 through FY 2018 on allegations of sexual abuse reported to DOJ.
Without objection.
Charts detailing incidents of sexual abuse reported to DOJ that occurred in ORR's Unaccompanied Alien Children Program.
And without objection.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, charts from FY 2017 and 2018 listing incidents of sexual abuse, dates when the incident was reported to ORR, the FBI, and the care provider.
Without objection. Documents will be entered into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commander White, these documents demonstrate over the past 3 years there have been 154 staff on unaccompanied minor, let me repeat that, staff on unaccompanied minor allegations of sexual assault. This works out on average to one sexual assault by HHS staff on an unaccompanied minor per week. These documents tell us that there was a problem with adults, employees of HHS, sexually abusing children. When you carried out the zero tolerance policy, for you and Mr. Lloyd, when you carried out the policy, you knew that putting thousands of kids into a situation where they were at risk of sexual abuse was going to be the result. Did you discuss this issue before going forward? Did you discuss the threat of sexual abuse to these kids among each other? Were there discussions with staff?
Representative, let me first correct an error. Those are not HHS staff in any of those allegations. That statement is false. Those are sir. Those are not HHS. You are speaking of allegations of sexual abuse against members of my team.
I'm going to reclaim my time, Commander White. I don't have a lot of time, and you know what I've seen? You know what I've seen in these reports that were delivered to us, buried in stacks of documents, this thick, without any notation? I saw thousands of cases of sexual abuse, if not by HHS staff, then by the people that HHS staff oversees. I will make that clarification. It doesn't make what happened anything less horrific. Any less horrific. Let me just continue. Hold on one second, Mr. White, please. Commander White. The question is, when you went forward with this policy, did anyone discuss this? Was this a hesitation? Given that you had this history, did anyone worry about what was going to happen to these kids? Was the Secretary aware of the numbers in these charts?
You're speaking of the numbers of our PREA reports, and those 154 are allegations, and this is a longer conversation.
Well, it is a longer conversation, Commander White.
In every conversation that we had about separation, we opposed separation.
I appreciate that. Mr.
That was
Lloyd,
based on actual facts.
And was the Secretary aware of these numbers? Was the Secretary aware that in moving forward and doing the work that you do, and for everyone on the panel, did people consider that when you went forward on the zero tolerance policy, that we're moving forward on a policy that would put these kids at risk of sexual assaults? That's the question. And if the answer is you don't know, I would ask staff to hand over, to deliver to you these two charts, in particular the one that, you're right, does contain the allegations. It also contains the results of investigations. Those employees who were reassigned, those who were terminated, those who continued to be employed. There are 1,000 questions that we have, but I would ask that you deliver these to the Secretary so that we can have a full exploration of them. The details of these sexual abuse allegations are shocking. Mr. Chairman and Chairperson Lofgren, I know, will join me in continuing to press the administration on these issues. It was our obligation, the administration's obligation, to help keep these kids safe, child's best interest, safety, and well-being of alien children. That's what we heard this morning. Mr. Chairman, we failed. And this is just the start of what I believe to be a very important series of questions that this administration must answer, and I yield back.